Good morning, leaders. I'm sitting here at the parking lot, as you can see behind me, of one of my clients. And a quick thing in terms of what preoccupies me today that I wanted to chat about is the whole idea of culture. I think we spend a lot of time talking about culture, and I'm of the belief, which is always gets me in trouble. I'm of the belief that there's nothing like culture. Culture is a construct. So when I get called in to help leaders work with culture and culture change and all of those things, with all the years of working in organizations and working with people, one thing I've realized and recognized is that all I'm trying to do uh, all the time is to change practices, behaviors, beliefs, and assumptions about the organization, about the work that needs to be done, about uh, everything else that is termed culture. Because there's no culture, there's nothing like culture. The way we do things around here is essentially an essence of behaviors, beliefs, and assumptions uh, and practices that we want to change or we want to keep the same. And we keep behaviors the same because they serve us. We change behaviors because they no longer serve us. So the work around culture change is essentially to get to the root of what are the behaviors that the people within the organization are doing. What are the behaviors in terms of the people within the organization are perpetuating that serves them? Because by understanding that and the reason, which is the beliefs and assumptions, what beliefs and assumptions do people hold about those behaviors, that makes a difference in terms of understanding how to change culture. So I think that's the first critical thing I wanted to say. The other then piece that I then want to add and layer on top without making this video too long is essentially then around very popular all of a sudden. I don't know what's going on. The other piece that I want to then layer on top is the belief and assumption that culture change is fast. And culture change, you do something to people. Actually, it's very complex because having to get to the root cause of why every single person within the organization acts a certain way requires a certain level of rushing and then waiting and rushing and waiting and rushing and waiting. But there is a particular paced approach that is required, and that's not going to happen fast. It's going to happen when it happens, but there are critical elements around what makes that clear, and it starts with the leader of the organization at the top and how they embrace and are really committed to changing these behaviors and then putting up systems, putting up processes to make sure that the behaviors change. But you cannot do that if you don't know what drives these behaviors, why people are doing what they're doing. And you can't assume because you've read some book on change and some book on leadership, you will be able to do it. It requires a counterintuitive skill of dialogue and humility that leaders, all of us, need to be exercising and practicing. Look at it in terms of countries as well. I mean, when you look at countries and having to change culture and beliefs and assumptions in a country, a lot of work that goes into it has a lot to do with understanding when do you create a space for dialogue, when do you then create a space for action, and how do you hold the two together uh, continuously until the behaviors change. But you will never get to the space where you say our culture has changed. You can get to a space where we are practicing more the behaviors we want as opposed to the behaviors we no longer want. We are believing more in terms of what the organization is all about as opposed to how we used to believe. We are acting more in line with the vision and the rules and the regulations and the processes and the structure than we used to. And I think that's where the challenge is. And I think until we can shift that in our heads, it becomes a lot easier to work with change. It's not simple, It's not easy per se, but it's simple. But in its simplicity, there is a need to continuously be conscious and accountable. This is 5 minutes that I've gone through. If you have questions, if you have conversations, if you have examples around culture, and how it has worked, what have you done, share with us, share with the people down here below. But otherwise, let's talk. Am I talking nonsense? Probably. Am I making sense? Probably. But let's have a chat. Monges Makalima for the Center for Work-Based Learning. I'm wishing you a great and an amazing day.